John Scott here with our NFL and Bills insider, Vic Carucci. Vic, Keon Coleman officially out against the Indianapolis Colts, with Sean McDermott going a bit farther, saying it could be more than just this week. Let's look forward. If it's 2-3+ weeks, what's the impact of this offense not having their rookie wideout?
I think this is a bigger injury for long-term concern than immediate concern. I think the Bills are the better team against the Colts, and I'm not necessarily thinking that Keon Coleman's absence is going to make a big difference there. But you look at the Kansas City game, look at San Francisco, look at Detroit, this murderer's row of opponents coming up, and to not have an emerging receiver there, yeah, that could be a challenge.
Sean McDermott saying they've had discussions about injured reserve, but not going to get there yet. My thought is the bye week probably factoring in there. Injured reserve is 4 games, not 4 weeks, Vic, as we know. So I don't expect him to be back maybe soon, but I don't necessarily think it's something that's going to be long term. What complicates it, Vic, of course, is Amari Coopers questionable for this game after missing last week with a wrist injury of his own. Is it imperative that he plays against Indianapolis?
Well, this is the thing where the veteran player like Cooper understands the circumstance that you might have to just push your way back into the lineup. The question is, what is his level of efficiency when you're dealing with an issue in the part of your body that is very important to your ability to catch the football as a receiver? And obviously after his first game, there was the quick fade to a very limited role in the second game. And, you wonder how much health obviously ended up playing into that. But this will be something to monitor because the Bills need as much as they can get. And you're looking at a receiving core that wasn't great to begin with, that was expected to be elevated by Cooper's arrival. And really, we've only seen that in one game. And yes, we've seen the emergence of Coleman as well, and then some of the other people getting involved. But it does make you wonder if the Bills overall have a concern here if they're not getting Cooper back really soon.
I would imagine conversations with the training staff were had with Brandon Beane ahead of the trade deadline that just passed on Tuesday, them not being active and adding any sort of wide receiver, maybe a positive outlook on the return dates for both Cooper as well as Coleman. Vic, how does the offense, especially the passing game, move forward without Coleman and potentially not 100% version of Amari Cooper?
We need to see this Bills team rely heavily on its tight ends and work it both in terms of play calling, scheme design, make both Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox vital to their ability to move the football. They've got to become bigger playmakers than we've seen for much of this season. They've had their moments, Kincaid especially, but not nearly enough and not anywhere near what I was expecting going into this season. The fact that they had to go outside to bring in a receiver to help boost that core tells you something about the pass catching concern maybe that was there with the tight end position, just not being what going into the year we thought it would be. I'm not saying they have to have their version of Travis Kelce, but they've got to be very close to something like that if they're going to be a contender. And right now, this is a team that with so many pluses and obviously enough victories and enough cachet to be in a position to virtually waltz into the playoffs, they've got to have something that tells them, okay, what's going to give us the chance for a deep run? We've got to see it, I think, in this receiving core with these tight ends, and that's regardless of the health of the other receivers.
If it's not going to happen now with Dalton Kincaid, honestly, Vic, I think it's reasonable to ask, when will it ever? This is why they traded up for him as a mismatch type of a weapon that was categorized by Brandon Beane the night he selected Kincaid as a big-time slot, almost a Cole Beasley, but in a tight end's body. And we haven't seen that whatsoever in a year plus with Kincaid in this offense. You have spoken so much since before the season began of this being an opportunity for Josh Allen to take a step forward in his career and elevate maybe a lesser cast around him. Is this maybe the peak moment of that at this point in this season?
absolutely that Josh Allen has even more on his plate, but that is the case with franchise quarterbacks, to elevate, to make those surrounding cast members better players. And I think Josh realizes this as much as anyone in the way he has developed his game and addressed whatever weaknesses have been in his game. He spoke this week of how he needs to, know the people around him better and how he's worked at that, especially during the offseason with individual time, not necessarily football time, just becoming better, developing better understanding of those players. So you wonder how much of that comes into play here. Now, he hasn't been around Amari Cooper, and certainly a rookie like Keon Coleman and other young players, yeah, they're people he's still getting to know. But schematically, with Joe Brady, I think this is a collective thing to help elevate the entire receiving group when you've got these injuries.
Do you believe that Jonathan Taylor, against a run defense that at times has been maligned here, that being the Bills, is this really where this game boils down to, Taylor versus the Bills' run defense?
Jonathan Taylor's got a lot of talent, and the Bills have proven or shown that stopping the run is a problem for them, a big one. And I would expect he'll have some success against them. Now, he had a season low with under 50 yards last week against the Vikings. And obviously every opponent kind of loads up to stop him. But I think philosophically, the Bills are a team that tries to work around its inability to stop the run. I think they believe that if they're going to lose or have problems defensively, it's going to happen because the other team throws the ball on them and isn't going to beat them with a consistent grounding game. Now, we've seen other teams run well, but if you look at their record, and obviously we know what stands out primarily, the Baltimore game where they got pushed around physically, but in general, I think they're a team that believes if they hold their own through the air, they will have more success than failure. The Colts' only hope to win this game would be to dominate on the ground, to have a ball control edge, a big one, and that it's possible, but I don't think it's necessarily likely. Yeah, because the Bills do, and look at, they went out and got two big bodies to add to that defense. Now, I don't know how much Jordan Phillips, Quentin Jefferson are going to make that big of an impact in their first games, depending on how much or if both play against the Colts, but it is something to look for because they picked that moment, especially after watching Devon Achane have such a big game against them in running the football in the Miami game.
So you're not a believer in Joe Flacco magic continuing this Sunday, Vic?
I'm really not. Joe Flacco is a wonderful story. He's an impressive quarterback. He's savvy. He's everything you could want in that veteran guy, but a veteran guy giving support to a younger guy. And that's why he was in Indianapolis originally. Anthony Richardson is supposed to be the starting quarterback. He goes 3-3 and kind of flames out, and we'll see what his future is. But Joe Flacco is in there 1-2 as a starter, has already lost more games than he did with the Browns last year. And look, the Vikings showed, and other teams I think will be able to do this, including the Bills, that if you get enough pressure on him, it's a problem. Now, I don't know that I'll see the Bills blitz Flacco as much as the Vikings did. They blitzed the daylights out of him, but you've got to get pressure there. I think they will up their blitz game a bit, the amount of blitzing the Bills do, but most of it, and Sean McDermott is dyed in the wool on this, is got to come from the front four, is got to be that D-line pressure, and then concentrate and have as much people in coverage as possible. And I think that's the thing he's relying on. Have the DBs do their job. Force Joe Flacco to hold the football, to try to move around, which is not his strength, and then just let the pressure get to him.
That is what Sean McDermott said this week. He says that even though I have a heavy blitz background in my defensive bag, he believes pressure is produced by the front four. Jordan Phillips' return. He had a career year 9.5 sacks back in 2019. Maybe he's looking not as much for the run help from a guy like Phillips, but maybe penetrating from the interior of that defensive line. Bills Colts in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium, Sunday at 1 o'clock. With Vic Carucci, I'm John Scott for Channel 2 Sports.